All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. Welcome, everyone. Go ahead and consider yourselves my personal research team today, because I'm going to be your lead archaeologist on this chronological expedition. We are setting out to separate the sensational historical legends from the gritty, on-the-ground archaeological realities. You know, the new seven wonders of the world are globally celebrated, but as curious students of history, we know that popular legend almost always overshadows the truth. Human nature just absolutely loves a dramatic story, right? Which is why folklore so easily overwrites the mundane, yet literally incredible truths of ancient engineering. Today we're going to look at these iconic sites from a rigorous, professional archaeological perspective to uncover what we actually know and honestly, what massive gaps in the evidence still remain.
So here's the map for our guided tour today. We'll start with the expedition begins, move into ancient Old World engineering, then explore some pre-Columbian architectural enigmas, spend some time debunking Taj Mahal myths, and finally wrap up with the modern assembly puzzle. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The expedition begins, mapping the unknown. You know, field experts we've spoken to point out that even today, we have just massive gaps in our historical records. Take the Great Wall of China, for example. It's actually not one continuous wall at all. It's this sprawling, disconnected network of defensive fortifications. Because so much of it spans these harsh, completely inaccessible, and poorly preserved terrains, modern field researchers are basically constantly mapping new, undocumented branches. And they're using incredible modern tools to do it, like satellite imaging and digital scanning. It perfectly illustrates just how much of our history is still literally waiting to be surveyed.
Let's plot out our architectural evolution to see the very real logistical challenges faced by builders throughout history. We're grouping these wonders chronologically and by their regional continent. So starting in antiquity, we've got Petra in the Middle East and the Great Wall in Asia. Then we move to the 1st century with the Colosseum in Europe, cross over to the Americas between the 9th and 15th centuries for Chichen Itza and Machu Picchu, pivot back to India in the 17th century for the Taj Mahal, and finally leap all the way to Brazil in 1931. This timeline shows us a fascinating evolution of manual labor methods. I mean, from carving straight into arid desert bedrock to hauling granite through high-altitude cloud forests, the environment totally dictated the engineering. We'll see how builders progressed from wrestling massive monolithic stone blocks in extreme ancient climates all the way to assembling complex global supply chains in the modern era.
Section 2. Ancient Old World Engineering, Buried Cities, and Sunken Arenas.
Entering the ancient Old World, we're immediately confronted by the staggering scale of what we still just simply do not understand. Get this, a massive 80% of the ancient Nabatean sandstone city of Petra remains completely unexplored. It is literally buried underground. Tourists flock to see the iconic facade of Al-Khazneh, you know, the treasury. But from an archaeological perspective, we are basically just looking at the tip of the iceberg. 2,000 years of vicious desert sandstorms, sudden flash floods, and seismic shifts have completely swallowed the residential and commercial sectors. We have the majestic rock-cut tombs, sure, but the actual day-to-day metropolis of the Nabateans is locked away. It really highlights the incredible physical lifespan of these structures, and it's wild to think that visitors are essentially walking over a vast, hidden city without even knowing it.
Okay, let's take a quick investigative pause here, research team. I want you to try and solve a simple structural mystery. How do you flood a massive arena without sinking its stone foundation? At the Colosseum in Italy, historians believed for a long time that the hypogeum, that crazy subterranean network of tunnels and cages, was used to stage complex mock naval battles. They theoretically flooded the arena floor to allow actual boats to float and skirmish. But modern architectural historians heavily debate the mechanics of this. Water is incredibly heavy. It's corrosive. If the porous stone foundation soaked it all up, the entire massive Colosseum could have suffered catastrophic subsidence. So how in the world was massive flooding achieved without compromising the structural integrity of the stone over its physical lifespan? It is a logistical nightmare that past builders somehow navigated, and a debate that absolutely still captivates engineers today.
Section 3. Pre-Columbian architectural enigmas. Sound and stars. All right, next we're crossing the globe into the Americas. Here, the construction challenges totally shifted from flooding arenas to, get this, manipulating sound and tracking the cosmos. This acoustic enigma at Chichen Itza in Mexico is just brilliant. The massive stone step pyramid El Castillo features a startling acoustic anomaly. If you stand at the base and clap just a single time, the architecture produces a distinct chirp sound, and it perfectly mimics the chirp of the quetzal, which was a highly sacred bird to the Mayans. Now, this isn't magic, it's pure acoustic engineering.
The specific height and depth of the limestone steps literally act as a sound-scattering diffraction grating. They catch the clap and bounce back a high-frequency chirp. How they calculated this incredibly precise geometry without modern acoustic modeling remains a completely unsolved structural mystery today. It's mind-blowing.
Moving further south, down to Peru, modern archaeologists and field experts are actually still debating the true function of Machu Picchu. Early theories claimed it was a military fortress or maybe a city of virgins of the sun. But scientists have found that structures like the Temple of the Sun feature these precise moving parts that are perfectly aligned to astronomical events like solstices. While local myths talk of mystical sun-worshipping origins, the gritty reality is the agonizing physical labor required to terrace and stabilize an entire city on an active fault line right in the middle of a cloud forest. The cultural, spiritual, and logistical reasons for building such an advanced citadel atop a steep, unforgiving ridge still totally speculative. We have the perfectly cut stones, but because the Incas left no written records, we are completely missing the blueprint.
Section 4. Debunking Taj Mahal myths, uncovering the gritty reality. Now we pivot over to India, where we really need to separate the romanticized folklore of the Taj Mahal from the hard professional archaeological findings. These spectacular myths still heavily drive the tourist narrative and influence local storytelling culture today, so it is our job to uncover the truth. First up, we can definitively bust the infamous lost hands myth. You've probably heard this one. Popular legend claims that Emperor Shah Jahan ordered the hands of the artisans and architects to be cut off so they could never build anything as beautiful ever again. Look, it makes for a very dramatic story, but historians have found literally zero credible evidence to support this mutilation. I mean, think about it logically for a second. Why would an emperor destroy his own most skilled labor force? Official records actually show that many of these exact same master artisans went right on to design and construct Shah Jahanabad, which was a massive booming imperial capital that is modern-day Old Delhi. So no severed hands. We can also completely debunk the persistent 17th century European myth of the Black Taj. The story goes that Shah Jahan planned to build an identical, symmetrical black marble mausoleum for himself right across the Yamuna River. Well, using modern excavation techniques like ground-penetrating radar, researchers found that the foundation traces across the river aren't from a second tomb at all. Nope, they actually perfectly align with the layout of an older, dismantled Mughal pleasure garden. So, the Black Taj? Complete fiction.
Finally, let's address the whole myth of the locked rooms at the Taj Mahal. Conspiracy theories absolutely love to suggest there are hidden Hindu idols or secret chambers hiding behind the 22 permanently locked rooms in the base. But the Archaeological Survey of India has completely dismissed this. These rooms are strictly part of the structural foundation. See, because the Taj sits right on the riverbank, capillary action draws water up into the porous stone. Sealing these rooms basically controls the microclimate. It prevents the marble and sandstone from slowly crumbling from the inside out due to severe moisture damage. It's structural conservation, plain and simple. It's entirely about protecting the aging architecture, not hiding ancient secrets.
Section 5. The Modern Assembly Puzzle. No cranes allowed. For our final stop on this tour,
we are leaping forward to 1931 in Brazil to examine a modern marvel that contrasts wonderfully with the ancient sites we've explored so far. While ancient engineering relied heavily on dragging massive, monolithic stones, I want you to think of Christ the Redeemer in Rio de Janeiro more like a giant modern building block analogy. It is a towering symbol of Art Deco design, designed over in France by sculptor Paul Landowski. The pieces were then shipped all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. But here is the real logistical puzzle. It was erected in parts atop a towering, sheer mountain peak without the use of a single modern crane. None. Workers had to manually haul these massive precast concrete building blocks up complex wooden scaffolding at the summit. It beautifully contrasts the manual labor methods of antiquity with the emerging globalized supply chains of the 1930s.
As our expedition concludes today, I really want our research team to reflect on the massive evidence gaps we've seen. From the 80% of Petra still hidden beneath the sand to the undocumented branches of the Great Wall, history is far from settled. You might be wondering, why do so many secrets remain hidden from science? Well, it's because time and the elements are formidable forces that naturally bury the past. But with modern tools like LiDAR, satellite scanning, and a real commitment to rigorous professional archaeology, the Earth is slowly giving up its ghosts. So, to my research team, I leave you with this final thought. If we've only just scratched the surface of the wonders we actually know about, what completely unknown, paradigm-shifting civilizations are still resting silently beneath our feet right now? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking those questions, and whatever you do, never stop digging for the truth.